there is that kind of whole thing about people believing the director's cut to be the better cut of a movie. And I do wonder, like, part of me does wonder how true that is, because there's a reason you have an editor. and there is, it's like, no one calls Edgar Wright's movies the director's cut of those movies, do they? Like, you're not watching Edgar Wright's version of director's cut of Hot Fuzz. And those films are like, he has such a unique visual style. And it is... Yeah,
he does,
but it's not him who does that, it's his editor who does that. He tells his editor what to do. And then, the editor goes and does it all. And then the editor will obviously make some choices themselves. And, it's the, is the director's version of a movie the best version of a movie? And if they are, and if that is, what's the point of having editors if directors can, other than just being an editor, to be a set of hands to use a piece of software? Editors are kind of good because normally they're not involved in any of the shooting process, and they just get the film as it's here's all the footage, and they can make the choices that are better for the movie. Famously, George Lucas's wife in A New Hope. Everything just comes. We're just circling back around to the start here. Here, the editor of New Hope. She, I can't remember her first name, and I feel very embarrassed. She saves that movie. She cut 40 minutes from it, and they rearranged all of it because George Lucas had his idea of what it was meant to be, and then she went through and she was like, "Nah, this would be much better." I believe in Lucas's original version, it starts on Tatooine with Luke instead of in the Star Destroyer with Darth Vader and Princess Leia. Which, is just you want to talk about iconic openings to movies.
Yeah. What do you think?
I think there's the. No, sorry, Jeff. I was going to say, with Blade Runner, there's how many cuts is there now? Five cuts of the film.
Yeah. And only one of them is the actual director's cut.
And it's not the one called the director's cut, is it? It's
no,
the final cut.
No, it's not. No, the final cut, which I do think is the best version, by the way.
Oh
yeah. I'm okay. I think if the performance was better, more people would be okay with that voiceover. I don't think that voiceover is the worst thing. It's just because it was very phoned in by the fact it literally sounds like they rung Harrison Ford on the phone and told him to do some lines.
Alfred Binder and let us live.
Yeah, I don't think there's a problem with having some of the things that you've seen be explained to you a little bit. Because there is a lot, and again, it's okay to leave an audience to have a think about things. David Lynch's entire career is built on never explaining anything in his movies ever, but he's also making a particular type of movie. He's making those more films that are about feelings more than about plot. Whereas Blade Runner has got a plot. And the reason they gave it a voiceover is because people were sat in the room and went, "I don't think you understand the plot of this. I don't think the plot of this movie comes through." But I genuinely think you don't need all the voiceover, and the performance needs to be better, definitely. But I don't think that's the death of cinema, is having a voiceover in a movie.
It doesn't really work in some films like Apocalypse Now. Yeah, going back to that.
Yeah.
It works. It works out. It's just juicy, but that's because it's been all the way through. You haven't had a voiceover all the way through Blade Runner, and all of a sudden you're being talked at by Harrison Ford, and you're like, bruh.
That is a bad example of a voiceover, but I do understand why it was put in. I get the choice to be have we explained anything that happens in this movie? And let's not pretend that the director didn't like sign off on it.
Yeah.
Like, because if he really didn't want that voiceover in that movie, he probably would have fought for it not to be in there. Like, you know, like going back to Orson Welles, like literally he took all of the reels of the film with Citizen Kane on home with him, so they couldn't take it away from him because he was worried. You know, it's like, you know, it's directors do all sorts of crazy things to make sure they get the cut of their film that they want. And you know, let's not pretend that the director of that movie didn't see that voiceover and was like, either went, I don't care, or B, it's not worth fighting to get removed. But yeah, I just think it needs to be a better performance, better written, and placed better. I'm probably recorded in a sound booth as well.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of it. Like, I'm trying to think of like director's cuts which are just considerably worse than the actual movies.
It's got to be some.
There's definitely like, well, for me, I'd argue Apocalypse
Probably.
Now. But I wouldn't even say that's considerably worse. I just think it's just, like you said, it's more information, which is nice. But for me, it's about like, it's Walter Murch edited Apocalypse Now, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just think Murch did a very good pass on it. Like,
Yeah.
Like, oh, actually, perfect example. All the special editions of Star Wars. George Lucas cannot stop himself for ruining his own movies. Like,
it keeps going back to Star Wars.
Like,
has there been an episode of this podcast where we haven't mentioned Star Wars?
It's almost like it's one of the greatest franchises of all time, isn't
Last
it?
episode.